Hello, and welcome to Pronouns Continued, where we are going to talk about some of the interrogative pronouns, or otherwise known as who and whom, and whose. So let's take a look. Interrogative pronouns are things like, in this case, all these sentences are correct. Who received the award? There we're working with who as a subject. Whom did Danielle suggest? There we're working with whom as the object. And whose car is parked on the street? And so in this case, we're looking at who and whom and whose. We're saying here are the subject, object, and possessive form, respectively. And I think for most of you, whose isn't too tough, as long as you know that WHOSE is the possessive form. WHO apostrophe S stands for who is, and so we wouldn't want to use that for here. This is the possessive form. But these are the two, who and whom, that people seem to mess up a lot. And if you think about them, as we've already discussed, this is the subject, this is an object, it gets a little bit easier. So let's continue. The rule is that we want to use who for the subject, anything that requires a subject, and we want to use whom for anything that requires an object. But where the difficulty comes is, well, how do you know really if you want a subject or an object, unless you're like a grammar perfectionist and you can always pick these things out? Well, I'm going to show you a few tricks. Where it gets really difficult is in questions. And so my trick for this is to make sure that you've got the question in what I call normal order, and then substitute he or him for him for whom and he for who, respectively. So in other words, if you can restate the sentence using the word he, then you know you have a subject case and you would choose who. If you can restate the sentence using him, then you know you have an object, and so you would want to use the word whom. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Let's say you had a choice here for who or whom do you think should win? And if you were to restate this as a sentence using he or he, you might say, do you think he should win, or he should win, or I think he should win, should he win? That starts to sound right. You wouldn't say, do you think him should win, should him win, right? So since you're choosing he, then the right answer here would be who. Who do you think should win? You know you're dealing with the subject case. But let's take a look at that one. This one, who or whom has the manager hired? If you were to play around with this, you might say the manager has hired him, the manager has hired he, or has the manager hired him, the manager has hired him, and you keep going to him as the right choice. That should tell you that whom is your right choice here. So this one should be whom has the manager hired. And that's it. Almost. Let's continue. What's difficult is in clauses and phrases. And so what we need to do here is ensure that we first separate the clause and then play around again with that word order to ensure that we are using the correct subject or object who or whom. For example, let's take a look at this first one. I spoke with the man who or whom Jim recommended. Well, I don't care about this front end part, I spoke with the man. Get rid of it and only focus on this, who or whom Jim recommended. And you can start to play around with that by saying Jim recommended he, Jim recommended him. Ooh, Jim recommended him sounds right. Therefore, you should know you need the objective case, whom. So this should become I spoke with the man whom Jim recommended. Let's take a look at the next one. Whomever wants to go can go. Well, if I would just kind of play around with he or him, because this starts a sentence here, so I don't need to separate anything, I could say he wants to go, him wants to go. I think he wants to go sounds better, and therefore I would choose whoever. Whoever wants to go can go. Let's play around with this third one. The attorney who or whom prepared this is out of town. Well, let's get rid of the attorney. I don't care about that. And let me just focus on who or whom prepared this is out of town. And I would start to say, he prepared this, him prepared this. He prepared this, him prepared this. I think I would say he prepared this. So this one becomes the attorney who prepared this is out of town. And if we continue with that, down with this one, who or whom is going to the picnic? He is going to the picnic. So who is going to the picnic should be correct. Who or whom should I give this to? Should I give this to him? I should give this to him. Whom is correct. Now, hopefully, you can distinguish easily between who or whom without really having to think about subject or object just by using these little tricks. Why don't you try this out on self-assessment B, which I don't believe is on page 76, but you know where self-assessment B is in this section. And that should help with who or whom in this pronoun section. Thank you.